Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rants alongside Tommy Krysan, presented by the Bears Casino. TK joining us in from his home away from home, Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, the home of the best hamburgers. We will be selling those this summer at the Rougarou Games. Of course, we're presented by the Bears Casino. I'm in an undisclosed location presented by the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Go to lasportshall.com to find out more about this year's 2025 Hall of Fame class, all the festivities, and get your tickets now. It will be a sold-out event, the festivities this June. The New Orleans Saints have made an official press conference to come today or tomorrow, Tommy?
Tomorrow.
Okay. Press conference with Kellen Moore tomorrow. LSU basketball going to try to get in the get a win today on the road against Arkansas. Where they are a 9.5-point underdog. Of course, this is a little different Arkansas team than the one that LSU saw first time around when they played in Baton Rouge a month ago. Arkansas, much better. Obviously, has a big win on the road at Kentucky to its resume. LSU baseball gets started a little afternoon delight, 2:00 game on Friday, and Stephen Milam, of course, who was an All-American second baseman, freshman All-American a year ago, will try to be an All-American shortstop this year. He'll be the starting shortstop on Friday. That's quite the change. Really curious to see how that goes. Does he have enough arm? I know he played it in high school. I personally am real curious to see how he can, plays day in and day out there. Braswell, the starting shortstop a year ago, now moving to third and backing up short and second and all that kind of stuff. Also, Rougarou, Baton Rouge Rougarou. Speaking of the Rougarou, tickets on sale, season tickets on sale now. The best deal in all the land, Tommy. $100 gets you and a guest into every Rougarou home game this summer. Go to rougarou.com or you know what, make a donation, help the cause. And we've got 24 home games. So, I mean, think about it. You go to 5 or 6 of them. It's still a great deal. The media will be meeting with Jay Johnson tomorrow.
Today. 12:30 today.
Jay Johnson will be talking. I'm sure we'll find out sort of like who the starting pitcher is going to be this weekend or something like that. Who's in the mix to get the ball on. The Super Bowl, there's been a lot of positive feedback all out on the city of New Orleans. Everywhere you talk to, obviously Sean Payton, who's lived in New Orleans, who's the head coach of the Broncos, has been one of the more outspoken people. Where Sean Payton that New Orleans should be in the 5-year rotation. He's like, look, you don't have to get in a town car and drive 45 minutes to the stadium. Walk distance, everything close by. Got everything you need. And he really talked positively about the Superdome. He said, about all the multi-purpose facilities that were built, they're all gone. The Superdome's the only one that's still around, has the great bones. They've had gone through many remodels, and it's just as good now as it is ever been. And so, and he's right about that. I mean, the Superdome was shining brightly over the Sunday when I was walking through there. It was hard to believe that it was a 50-year-old structure. There's not a lot of 50-year-old stadiums. It's so modern, and that's what it does.
Ronnie, I'm going to take you way back. In the 70s, it's opened in like 74. When I was in high school at Holy Cross, all the schools, there were these big ballrooms in the dome, okay? And all the homecoming dances, junior prom, senior prom, was all at the Superdome because you had all the parking, and you'd have like the Brother Martin prom in one room and the Holy Cross in the next room. And, people knew each other, whatever. And on the same night many a time. And 4 or 5 times we had our homecoming dance or the prom in the Superdome. And, of course, it was so new and famous then, They don't do that anymore, but that's how far that building has come in the 50+ years it's been around.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I remember at the Superdome you had the ramps going up to the different levels. There were these big giant walkways, and there were ramps going up, and they were carpeted for a long
striped carpet, striped left to right.
Yeah, it was carpeted for a long time, which sounds great and very plush, but very slippery, especially when you're going downhill, and especially if you're running, jogging, any kind of movement, in the hoo-ha. I've seen many of people, including myself, slip and fall, especially a lot of kids that are running around on those carpet. Now they got rid of that carpet years and years ago, and now they don't. I don't even think they have them now. I think now they have stairs and elevators and escalators because they took that space and made it into more space and bars and restaurants and things, concession stands. But hey, they did a great job. Look, we know that the Superdome went through 3 phases of a renovation over the last 3 years or so in getting ready for the Super Bowl. That was part of the proposal. That was part of the package. Hey, if you want to have the Super Bowl, you got to do X, Y, and Z. Think about it. New Orleans is sort of lucky, Tommy, that they even got another Super Bowl after the embarrassment, 11, 12 years ago when the lights went out, when the power grid literally went out, and you had to delay the Super Bowl. New Orleans, they could have easily said, hey, we're not coming back to New Orleans. This was ridiculous that this ever happened. Instead, they didn't come back right away. It took a decade plus, but they came back under, hey, you got to upgrade. You got to do this, this, and this. New Orleans did it. The Saints did it. The state of Louisiana did it. And it was absolutely a sensational building. The game was a turd, but it was an amazing, amazing game. I have a question for you. There's been a lot of fallout after the Super Bowl. A lot of bouquets thrown towards Jalen Hurts, the MVP, deservedly so, towards the Eagles, deservedly so. But does this loss make you change the way you feel and perceive Patrick Mahomes any?
It doesn't make me change today, but in time, let's see. I mean, everybody wants to make a quick, immediate judgment. We live in an immediate world because of the cell phone, okay? Everybody was, okay, Mahomes is done. The Chiefs are done. Andy Reid got out coached. Well, pause a minute. Take a deep breath, okay? We'll see what happens in the coming years. And can the Eagles win 4 out of 6 or 2 out of 5 or something like that? So it doesn't change what I think about Mahomes. I think the Chiefs have a lot of work to do. Get a bell cow running back, maybe get some consistency. I think Kelsey's done. If he's not done, he's not going to be effective. Get some wide receivers. Defense is solid. So, put some pieces of the puzzle together on offense, see what you can do. I don't think Mahomes is a bad quarterback. I don't think Reid's a bad coach. So Mahomes is going to be fine. He couldn't use this as motivation. He said that. He said, this is a loss that's going to linger. I got to be better. He basically handed the Eagles 14 points in a short window of time. So I don't think it slows him up any. I still think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And let's let it play out, to use your famous line. Let's see what happens in this coming season. If the Chiefs go, 7-10 next year and don't make the playoffs, then maybe you could say that window has closed on them. Because all the windows closed. It closed on the Steelers in the 70s. The 49ers, the Patriots window closed where they couldn't win but 2-3 games. But I'm not ready to say the Chiefs window's closed, but maybe next February we'll think it is.
Yeah, I am one that doesn't think one bad half means the franchise is dead. I mean, this is a team that was competing for its 3rd straight Super Bowl, and it had a horrendous first half. That's all that happened. And Patrick Mahomes is still that guy. Andy Reid's still that guy. Yeah, just like the New England Patriots did over 20 years, you got to retool, you got to revamp, some players leave, you add new ones. But as long as I got Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, that organization, I think the Chiefs are fine. They still held off Joe Burrow. They still held off the Buffalo Bills. They still held off the Ravens. I mean, they're still the best team in the AFC. They had the best record in the AFC. They deserve to be there. And I know the game was out of hand at halftime, but technically they outscored the Eagles in the second half, and Patrick Mahomes threw for 250 yards or whatever. So it's not like that physically, like it was like when Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl with the Broncos, you knew that he was done physically. Patrick Mahomes is fine. They just got it handed to him. He played bad. The offensive line got whooped. We keep in mind the Eagles had 6 sacks without blitzing anybody. That's one of the best defensive lines in the country in NFL, with arguably the next superstar and Carter at tackle. And so that's all that happened. That's all that happened. I fully anticipate the Chiefs are going to be right there next year in the mix of the 3 or 4 teams that can be in the Super Bowl and win the thing.
Well, as I like to say, Ronnie, they picked a bad day to have a bad day, in particular, a bad first half. Okay, that doesn't, to me, that doesn't take a lot of glitter off of them. Okay, and that happens in sports. Okay, we've seen the LSU baseball team. We can go back to the 25-2 loss to Bama, and they beat them the next day. Baseball's a little different than football. But football, you're gonna, Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois, and and then still played for a national championship. I mean, in sports, if you play sports, there's going to be a day when you get your butt kicked. And there's going to be a day when it just nothing goes right. It's no different than, I mean, high school level, college, pro, even the youth level. It's going to happen. Rougarou going to have a bad couple games, and then all of a sudden they're going to get hot for a couple of games. That's the nature of sports. So I'm not ready to write off the Chiefs at this point.
That's blasphemy, Tommy. The Rougarou never get cold. The Rougarou always hot.
I got the Rougarou gear today. You see, man.
I like it.
Trying to get some season tickets sold.
Yeah, go to brrougarou.com. All right, so Kellen Moore. I mean, this is the worst kept secret. We knew basically 2 weeks ago that he was going to be. We knew 2 weeks ago that Kellen Moore was going to be the coach of the Saints just by virtue of elimination. I mean, at some point, he's the only one left that you have, that you've interviewed that hasn't taken a job or said yes or no and all that kind of stuff. And so, hey, the exciting thing is that you and I and a lot of New Orleans Saints fans feel a lot more optimistic today, right now, about Kellen Moore than we did 2 weeks ago. Guy's a Super Bowl champion coordinator.
Yeah, like I said the other day on Sports Shorts Daily, if the day after they fired Dennis Allen, we just said, hey, Saints fans, by the way, they're going to hire an offensive coordinator from the Super Bowl winner. I think most fans would have been, Yahoo, yay, rah, good, And look, he's going to put together a staff. Already some names buzzing around. I'm sure he'll address that tomorrow and make announcements over the coming weeks as to who will be part of his staff. And, he's going to be 37 years old this summer. He's the 12th head coach in Saints history. So I think Saints fans can feel a little optimistic. I don't want to say it a lot, and here comes the NFC South Division title. I don't think you say all that yet, but I think you have to feel good going in as to what could happen here. And there's a lot of work to be done on the salary cap and the roster, lots of work. And, we'll see if they can do it. And again, the NFC South's a winnable division. As you said the other day, right now you pick them fourth in the NFC South Division, because I think Carolina's gotten a little bit better and they played well at the end of the year. The Falcons are the Falcons, and and the Buccaneers are going to be solid. So we'll see. But I think you should be encouraged if you're a Saints fan, and to use the Ronnie Rand's famous line, let's let it play out.
Did you see the video that went viral with John Rocker and Patrick Mahomes' dad?
I heard about it. I have not saw it.
Yeah, so it was just this.
It actually got sent to me this morning, and I hadn't looked at it yet.
So it's a video of them on Bourbon Street outside of a bar. John Rocker, the former reliever for the Atlanta Braves, and of course, very controversial, outspoken figure. Nobody in New York likes John Rocker. Remember, he talked about the women in the city and how gross it is, and the subways and all that many, many years ago. And Patrick Mahomes' dad, of course, played in the big leagues. And there's a video of basically Rocker goes up to him to shake his hand. Mahomes' dad kind of swats his hand away. They have words. They're separated. Rocker at the end kind of throws his drink towards his direction. All of that is a setup. It's all a setup. It's all not real. I know people that are, John Rocker was signing autographs on the North Shore the other day at Pro Dreams, Trey Ledbetter's place, and it was all part of a spiel. I think they're going to do a charitable boxing thing, or they're going to do some sort of charity wrestling thing. It'll come out in time, but it looks good. They were good actors, but it's going around viral, and people think it's real, and they think that John Rocker and Patrick Mahomes' dad have real beef and almost got into it on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. So you'll see it. It was started to come out yesterday.
Well, again, it's on my phone. A friend sent it to me this morning, and it was right before we fired up the show, so I haven't had a chance to look, but I'll look at some point today. What I remember about Rocker, he was one of the first guys that threw 95 plus left-handed. Remember, there was a thing a long time that left-handers didn't quite throw as hard as right-handers. Rocker was one of the guys that kind of changed that. He didn't have the best control in the world. He didn't always know where the ball was going, but it's very hard throwing left-hander when those were more rare than they are now.
LSU basketball, they are a 9.5-point dog tonight against Arkansas. There has been a lot of heat with Coach McMahon with LSU basketball over the last few days. We've seen things about his buyout. His buyout is $8 to $9 million. But if you got, but if you fired him, you'd owe him that. You'd owe his staff. You'd have to overpay for the new staff because nobody wants to come to LSU. By the way, behind the scenes, LSU have the 16 teams in college, 16 SEC teams, SEC men's basketball teams. LSU, according to insiders, is like 14th or 15th in NIL money in the SEC. And that speaks to sort of the commitment to men's basketball as a program and sort of the commitment by the fans, the interest, the boosters that can give, would rather give to the football team, would rather give to the baseball team, would rather give to the women's basketball team. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Can LSU win enough to take the heat a little bit off of McMahon going into next year, or are they going to sit on one or two SEC wins and put the pressure on Scott Woodward and his staff to think, okay, do we just ride it out one more year, or do we bite the bullet and try to find money? I think they're going to ride it out no matter what. I think LSU is strapped financially, and from an LSU basketball situation, from a men's basketball situation, or 5, 6, 7,000 season ticket holders are going to be season ticket holders regardless of who the coach is. And it's not going to make that big of a deal. So, and by the way, LSU men's basketball and football, the only two sports that made money last year. Everybody else lost money, including women's basketball and LSU baseball.
Yeah, I saw that report there, and I mean but that's kind of the way it's been going at LSU. You know, football's the gravy train. That's what fuels the athletic department, and I did see that report, and I read that the other day. So we'll see how this thing with the basketball plays out. You make good points. Can they afford to fire him? Can they afford not to fire him? And the money, because then you got to replace him, the staff, etc. And maybe it comes down to okay, McMahon, you better get in that portal. We got to give you some more NIL money because again, we keep saying it. The Southeastern Conference is the best basketball conference in America. Surprisingly, to some, not to all, and so they have a long uphill climb if they're even going to get to where they compete in the Southeastern Conference, and they can have a 500 record in the SEC play. They're a long way from that.
We've kind of failed to mention the other day with Super Bowl and all that Brandon Ingram was traded to the Toronto Raptors. He was a part of the big three, Ingram, McCollum, and Zion. He just signed a 3-year, $120 million extension with the Toronto Raptors. So good for him. And now I feel like the Pels are in that rebuild mode. It's kind of sort of like the Saints, very, very similar situation over there. Let's clean up this roster, see what we can do to try to reformat it for next year. This year's done. Let's see what they can do for 2026. But Brandon Ingram, when he was healthy, was one of the best Pelicans ever to play, for that organization. The problem is just getting on the court and staying on the court, which has been a problem for the Pelicans and why that organization is where it is right now. Luka Doncic, I don't know how much you paid attention, Tommy, but his debut in Los Angeles was kind of didn't go over so well. They won handily. He played bad, admittedly said he was nervous. I thought it was really cool. LeBron James let him get the ovation. When you introduce the starting lineup, usually the Michael Jordans, the LeBron James, the Larry Bird, they get introduced last. But LeBron said, hey, I'm going to let you go last. And the crowd gave him the love. For Anthony Davis, he goes over to Dallas in his debut a few days ago, plays lights out for almost 3 quarters, and then gets hurt with a slight injury and has to leave. but he was sensational for his 3 quarters. So people are
And,
still
and he's out for a while too. It's not
yeah.
at first they thought he'd be back in a game or two, but I go back to Charles Barkley. His nickname for Davis is street clothes, because Barkley said one time that every time he sees him, he's in street clothes, meaning not dressed out. So he's back to being street clothes, Anthony Davis.
And it's a shame because last year, I think he played in like a career high in games last year with the Lakers. He was super durable. And unfortunately, this year, here he is. The trade's made. We got protesters outside. We got people getting kicked out of Mavs games. And now, on top of that, Anthony Davis isn't even healthy enough to play. I mean, when it rains, it pours. There's a lot of conspiracy theorists that are talking about what that trade was all about because it made no sense. And you had a fan base that loved their franchise player. It'd be like the Saints trading Drew Brees. Now it comes out that Luka was immature off the court, may have had a drinking problem, didn't work as hard, take care of his body as much as they liked, and they're sitting there faced with this dilemma of paying the guy a max deal of 5 years, $350 million. We don't want to invest that kind of money into him if he's not going to be the guy, do all the right things. Instead, they went the cheaper route with Anthony, but also the new ownership group may be trying to, strip the franchise of payroll, strip the franchise of the wins to make it a situation where they could move to Las Vegas. That's also a conspiracy theory. So going to be interesting to see what happens over the next year or two. But what a difference for those two franchises. The Lakers look like they were fading. Anthony Davis, LeBron getting older. Then the wins aren't coming. They don't have the team around it. And all of a sudden now they got a superstar for the next 5 years. 6 years, the face of their franchise, probably for the next decade, realistically. And then the Mavs look like a franchise that was once the shining star, led by Mark Cuban, is now who knows what is going to happen over there in Dallas. TK, tell us about Tremonti's as we get out of here.
Well, the lunch special today is burger and fries, $6.99. You can eat it here. You can get it to go. And there is a huge meat sale starting here tomorrow. Tomahawk Wagyu steak, all the other meats, huge. We call it a mini meat sale because twice a year they do a big meat sale. But there's a meat sale starting tomorrow. Unbelievable pricing on that. Boiled and live crawfish Friday and Saturday. They sold a lot of crawfish yesterday on the weekly Tuesday special. So come on by Tremonti's for the hamburger today, the meat sale that starts Thursday, all your crawfish this weekend. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, Jefferson Highway, Baton Rouge. Check them out.
All right. For Tommy, I'm Ronnie. Please like and share this video. Thanks to LeBears Casino for being our presenting sponsor. We will see you on Friday morning for more Sports Shorts Daily presented by LeBears. Until then, have a good one, everybody.